It's Rooster here, and we are talking about old school days, like a Throwback Thursday. And grew up in Iowa, and my grandparents, my grandpa Martin, be my dad's parents. They had a big farm that my dad grew up on, and it was just like your typical Iowa farm. There's pigs, there was cows. They had this huge chicken house, and we're talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands of laying hens, and these eggs had to be picked up by hand. It was just a farm, and we grew up on it. We were about 40 miles away from my grandparents, and just kind of reflecting on those early years of growing up on that farm, getting into stuff. I mean, like there was like a big old silo that was filled with corn. You sit there, and that's what you feed the hogs to. So we would sit there, and we would move the pallet that was sitting there blocking it, to keep all the corn in that silo, because I mean, there's no telling how much corn was in this. So what we would do is we would sit there, and we it was like Jenga, but with tons and tons and tons of corn and corn cobs and whatnot. So we'd go up to it, and we'd pull the corn cob, and we'd sit there, and two or three would fall out. There was one time that it was myself and my cousins. We'd sit there, we pulled this corn cob out, and like I'm talking, it literally broke, and you're talking tons of corn broke through this bottom part of this silo. My grandma come running out, and we were in deep shit. My grandpa, grandpa was a big guy, and he had a way of seeing the world differently through anybody else. Just a sweet and genuine man. And I remember one time when we were picking up eggs, I didn't know that he was on the other side of the chicken house, and I was on this side. So we would I didn't know he was there, and this is about I was probably 15, and I was smoking cigarettes, and just sitting there being all sneaky. Well, we get to the end, and literally we come out at each other, just looking eye to eye. Grandpa has a cigarette in his mouth, and I have a cigarette in my mouth, and we're literally like staring at each other, like who's going to make the first move. Because I know my grandpa ain't supposed to be smoking. He knows that I ain't supposed to be smoking. And he said, "You better not tell your grandma." And I said, "Oh, you better not tell your grandma." And he was like, "Okay then." And we just went back down through there. Just growing up on the farm, just sitting there. It was my first wreck. I wrecked my dad's Malibu that he had. We just put at least probably 8 to 10 flats of eggs in the back of the car. And Dad was, I was driving for the first time. I remember I sat there and threw that car in the ditch, and it was just a mess. And the life lessons that you learn it by hand. Me and my cousin, we were in the burn pile, and we were sitting there throwing gasoline all over this burn pile, sitting there making the flames come up. Well, the flames of the gasoline the gasoline jug that we have is a plastic. We'd sit there and put gas into this plastic jug, and we sat there, and the gas was starting to eat at the plastic, and it just turned into a mess to where the flame had followed it up into the jug. And the only thing I could think of is I took the lid, and I screwed the lid on, and I threw the jug next to the chicken house. Well, we were sitting there because we're trying to put out the fire that had already started from the gas that was going everywhere, whatever. Apparently that gas can exploded, and when it did, it went boom, sent flames and shit everywhere. Well, in that plastic, since it blew up, when it stuck, it literally was sticking to everything. It was like almost what napalm, I guess. And we almost burnt down the chicken house, and it was just all those years of growing up on the farm, learning life lessons and everything else. And flying back to Iowa next week sometime. My grandpa did pass away, and when I take my sons Zeke and Gabe and go see my dad, we'll sit there, we'll go back on the farm, and I'll sit there and tell the boys the same story. So to the families, just enjoy what you can, and if you ever get a chance to put a cap on a burning plastic jug to watch it explode, probably not a smart idea.